Dinar shift. Imagine a moment so profound it reorders the horizon of your future, a singular shift in the financial landscape that you and countless others have tracked, studied, and anticipated for years. Right now, a distinctive atmosphere is settling over the global currency community, suggesting that the long-awaited confluence of major developments concerning the Iraqi Dinar (IQD) and the Vietnamese Dong (VND) may be actively unfolding. The feeling is palpable. A transition from endless anticipation to potential realization is taking hold. This is not just typical market chatter, it's a deep systemic feeling that key operational sequences, often referred to by insiders, may have been initiated, setting the stage for the next phase of global currency adjustments. The community dedicated to following these events, specifically those categorized by many analysts as the Tier 4 Billions Group, is now on high alert, analyzing every subtle signal. This is the critical juncture where detailed preparation could meet opportunity, and understanding the nuances of the emerging signals is absolutely paramount for anyone committed to this journey. The most striking indication of a fundamental change is the sudden and widespread silence emanating from sources that are usually active. In this specialized realm, years of observation have taught followers that prolonged, coordinated quiet is rarely accidental, it's often a calculated state. Banking contacts who previously offered occasional cryptic hints have ceased communication. Discussion groups that once buzzed with daily exchanges have either closed down or severely restricted their posts. For those with a long view of this process, this collective muting suggests that non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, are likely being enforced, sensitive systems are undergoing final internal checks, and crucial progress is moving strictly through authorized high-level channels. This controlled environment suggests an internal preparation phase is likely complete, signaling that official procedures are moving forward with discipline and discretion. This unusual quiet is being paired with emerging reports of highly specific technical activity within global banking and treasury systems. Claims are circulating that Tier 4 Billions notification codes have begun activation or are rolling out across specific regions. These reports often coincide with observable yet subtle anomalies, sudden late-night system updates, temporary appearances of placeholder exchange rates followed by rapid removal, and unusual targeted account validation checks within major financial institutions. While these anecdotal reports should not be mistaken for official confirmation or a defined timeline, their widespread and synchronized appearance creates a compelling pattern. Experienced observers recognize this pattern as something far more significant than random rumor, suggesting a coordinated sequence is in effect, where multiple technical indicators are aligning to form a larger, coherent picture of forward movement. To fully grasp the magnitude of the current focus, it is essential to clarify the concept of the Tier 4 Billions Group within the framework of potential global currency adjustments. According to generalized industry discussion, the process typically unfolds in structured phases, or tiers. Tier 1 involves sovereign entities and the highest levels of institutional finance. Tier 2 encompasses major corporate entities and large-scale humanitarian platforms. Tier 3 consists of specialized private placements and structured institutional clients. The subsequent phase, Tier 4, represents the public at large, but it contains the crucial subgroup known as Tier 4 Billions. This group is widely understood to represent the informed internet community, individuals who have actively tracked, researched, and monitored the developments surrounding the IQD and VND for an extended duration, often preceding general public awareness. Therefore, when reports center on the Tier 4 Billions codes becoming active, it holds a profound and specific implication. The complex, multi-tiered process may be advancing into the definitive final stages before broader public access or general market shifts. This perception is what imbues the current discussions with such emotional weight and urgency. The community following this specific segment of the financial world views this alleged trigger as the ultimate confirmation of process progression, suggesting that the preparatory activities of the highest tiers are potentially culminating and filtering down. This critical stage, if confirmed by official channels, marks the moment where years of tracking and detailed information synthesis by the community transition from intellectual pursuit to potential operational reality. A central point of current speculation revolves around the precise timing of this perceived movement, as it appears to deviate from earlier expectations. For many months, the general consensus was that any major financial shift would be tethered to specific publicly known fiscal cycles, such as the full finalization of national budgets or major quarterly fiscal announcements. Instead, the current reports suggest an unexpected and potentially rapid acceleration. The reason for this shock of timing appears to be the simultaneous convergence of several seemingly independent high-level events that have culminated almost in unison, creating a sense of powerful and coordinated momentum across global financial systems. This rare alignment adds significant credibility to the claims of underlying movement. The apparent synchronization of developments includes reports that Iraq has been finalizing several critical, complex budget-related adjustments and fiscal reforms. Concurrently, news has filtered through the community suggesting that the U.S. Treasury and associated financial entities have completed significant synchronization protocols across numerous international financial regions, laying the technological groundwork for seamless, cross-border activity. Furthermore, Vietnam has reportedly been undertaking methodical upgrades to its digital banking infrastructure and central banking systems with quiet, consistent precision. The simultaneous culmination of these three distinct yet intertwined major processes is highly unusual, signaling a level of deliberate sequencing and organized execution that feels far from accidental. Moving deeper into the mechanics, the phrase "codes going live" refers to the highly secure, encrypted authorization sequences required to enable the next operational step, the scheduling of exchanges or redemptions. These are not trivial data entries, they are high-security triggers managed at the most senior levels of financial authority, including central banks, treasury departments, and authorized redemption or exchange centers. Once these codes are internally activated, they serve as the official clearance signal for all affiliated centers. This signal initiates internal verification procedures, security layer activations, crucial system checks to ensure the correct internal rates are displayed, and final compliance confirmation across the network. Crucially, this entire process is designed to be entirely silent and internal, shielded completely from public view to maintain market stability and security. However, the indirect effects of this internal activation, the sudden cessation of communication from reliable sources, the erratic behavior of select banking systems, and the notable shift in the tone of closed-door discussions are the unmistakable signals that alert the Tier 4 billions community to a change behind the scenes. These indicators act as proxies for the internal process, providing observable evidence that the secure mechanisms of a major financial transition have potentially been engaged. The economic narrative around Iraq is intrinsically tied to its multi-year process of financial system rebuilding and reform. For over a decade, the nation has worked diligently to enhance its economic foundation. Key initiatives include substantial strengthening of its foreign currency reserves, forging deeper partnerships with major global financial institutions, and the methodical modernization of its core regulatory frameworks. These efforts are not minor. They represent a fundamental commitment to integrating with the international financial community through enhanced transparency, stability, and control. Iraq's ongoing improvements have focused on achieving greater efficiency in cross-border settlement systems, upgrading digital payment platforms, and implementing more robust anti-corruption and compliance controls. Senior officials within the Central Bank of Iraq have consistently articulated that a comprehensive monetary reform project is underway designed to foster long-term economic stability and attract greater foreign investment. These structural changes position Iraq's financial system for greater resilience, although it is important to note that no official, verified statements have confirmed any extraordinary or immediate currency valuation shift outside of the regular policy adjustments. The significance lies in the underlying measurable progress toward international financial standards. The intense and sustained focus on the Iraqi dinar is largely attributable to its current low valuation, a legacy of years marked by conflict, international sanctions, and pervasive economic challenges. Despite these hurdles, Iraq possesses substantial inherent economic strengths, including some of the world's most extensive proven oil reserves, burgeoning international trade routes, and efforts toward greater political stability and diversification. These foundational assets fuel continuous speculation and interest in the dinar's potential long-term trajectory among global observers who closely monitor every economic and political development within the country. It is a core principle that currency valuation is subject to a complex interplay of numerous global and domestic factors. These include fiscal discipline, effective inflation control, success in diversifying the national economy away from oil, the strength of the country's financial institutions, and global market demand. While Iraq has demonstrated measurable incremental progress across several of these critical areas, any future significant adjustment to the dinar's value would strictly be executed through official, transparent governmental and central bank policy announcements, not through private communications or unverified claims. The factual takeaway is that the underlying economic reforms are continuous, laying a steady foundation for a more interconnected financial future. Across Asia, Vietnam is concurrently demonstrating powerful economic momentum, driven by a deliberate strategy of rapid industrialization and increasing global engagement. Its manufacturing sector has become a pivotal component of global supply chains, attracting significant foreign direct investment and expanding its international trade agreements. The Vietnamese government has been actively engaged in regulatory refinement, the modernization of payment technologies, and upgrading its oversight mechanisms to guarantee continued, sustained long-term development and stability across its financial markets. These continuous and structural improvements naturally stimulate discussion about the future trajectory of the Vietnamese dong. However, similar to the situation in Iraq, there are no official governmental statements or credible financial reports indicating any extraordinary, imminent shift in its valuation that would fall outside the normal course of policy management. What is unambiguously clear is Vietnam's strategic positioning as a major regional economic engine, with fiscal and monetary policies aimed squarely at supporting its accelerating growth, ensuring stability, and achieving deeper integration into the global economic structure. The larger, overarching picture that emerges from the simultaneous focus on both Iraq and Vietnam is one of profound, long-term structural reform. Both nations are engaged in sustained efforts to modernize their financial frameworks, strengthen their institutional governance, and increase their overall participation in global commerce. These structural developments are genuinely significant and merit close attention, but any informed interpretation must be grounded in confirmed data, official policy statements, and reputable economic analysis, rather than narratives built on unverified or speculative claims. Real progress in sovereign economies unfolds through clear, visible policy decisions, not through hidden or secretive financial channels. If the circulating reports about the activation codes were indeed accurate, the subsequent days would likely be characterized by a series of highly structured internal steps. First, major financial institutions would be finalizing internal banking confirmations, ensuring that all server protocols and testing procedures are complete. This would include final checks on the rate visibility across various systems and the completion of liquidity positioning across regional financial hubs to manage any upcoming volume. This methodical, internal alignment is a prerequisite for any widespread transition. The subsequent step, assuming the process continues, would involve the dissemination of Tier 4 billions notifications through highly structured, pre-prepared channels. These would likely take the form of secure emails, access to private platforms, or trusted distribution lists. It is critical to understand these are not random public messages. They are targeted communications containing essential, detailed steps for scheduling appointments, requirements for verification, and comprehensive instructions on the process. This controlled distribution ensures that only the designated recipients receive the necessary information to move forward. Following the initial notification wave, the appointment and scheduling systems would be activated and open to the notified group. Once this critical phase begins, the pace of activity within the system is expected to accelerate significantly. Exchange and redemption centers would likely become fully operational, and the entire logistical and financial infrastructure would transition into a full operational state. If this progression were to unfold as anticipated, the collective community would be moving into one of the most operationally intense phases of this long-followed financial story. Beyond the mechanics of the process, the global economic impact of significant financial changes in both Iraq and Vietnam would be extensive. A potential strengthening of the IQD would significantly empower Iraq to undertake large-scale infrastructure projects, stabilize its national budget, and substantially increase its influence within the global energy markets. Similarly, an economic strengthening of the VND would enhance Vietnam's purchasing power, attract even greater foreign investment, and boost its overall export competitiveness on the world stage, creating a ripple effect across Asian markets. This is far more than a simple currency adjustment. It is a geopolitical and economic turning point. Global financial markets would necessarily adjust to the new economic realities of strengthened nations, and significant global liquidity would shift position as major banks and financial institutions reposition their assets and strategies. The implications extend well beyond the borders of these two nations, influencing global trade flows, capital movement, and regional economic stability across the Middle East and Asia, marking a moment of major rebalancing in international finance. When indicators appear to converge and discussions intensify, it is entirely natural for people to begin intensely imagining what the immediate future might hold. In any real-world scenario involving a potentially significant policy or financial development, The initial and most critical steps consistently unfold behind the scenes in highly structured and predictable ways. Major financial institutions always adhere to a standard playbook, which involves rigorous internal assessments, compliance verification, and critical updates to system protocols to ensure stability and synchronization prior to any public announcement. This includes methodical tasks such as final server load testing, comprehensive software audits to ensure security, and the necessary communication alignment between regional banking branches and internal departments to support a clean, secure, and coordinated transition. These activities are not signs of secret, unusual events. They are evidence of disciplined, professional infrastructure management that is required for any major financial adjustment to minimize disruption and risk. The professionalism of this preparation is a key component to a successful and orderly transition. If official confirmed announcements regarding a major policy change were forthcoming, the communication would be delivered through clear, universally accessible channels. This includes formal government press releases, publications issued directly by central banks, or coordinated, verified communications from regulatory bodies. These formal methods ensure that all participants, banks, businesses, and private citizens, receive accurate, consistent, and actionable information. The moment such an official signal is given, the institutional and market response is typically rapid, characterized by organized activity and a rush to clarity. The broader global context confirms that major economic reforms invariably influence the surrounding geopolitical landscape. Both Iraq and Vietnam have dedicated years to modernizing their financial frameworks, strengthening their oversight mechanisms, and integrating new digital payment innovations to increase transparency and efficiency. These significant, structural reforms do not culminate in sudden, secretive effects. Rather, they lead to gradual, measurable improvements that enhance each country's capacity to engage more confidently and powerfully with its global partners and the international financial community. In Iraq, the initiatives focused on stabilizing monetary policy, diversifying revenue streams away from oil dependence, and rebuilding core infrastructure are actively laying the foundation for long-term financial resilience. As the country systematically modernizes its entire banking sector, the potential for deeper integration into global financial markets steadily increases. This trajectory is not defined by dramatic overnight shifts, but by steady strategic growth built on disciplined internal policy and measurable steps toward global standards. Similarly, Vietnam's ascent as a major force in global manufacturing and trade is solidly underpinned by consistent regulatory refinement, robust inflows of international investment, and ongoing technological advancement. These structural and continuous improvements enhance the country's global competitiveness and contribute substantially to regional economic stability. When nations commit to and achieve sustained structural progress, global markets inevitably take notice, leading to measurable shifts in investment patterns, adjustments in global supply chains, and evolving geopolitical alliances that adapt to the emerging economic strengths. For the many individuals following these developments, the commitment is not merely an intellectual pursuit, it carries a profound emotional and psychological weight. Years of dedicated monitoring, researching, and interpreting complex signals creates a deep personal attachment to the process. The human element naturally attaches significance to long-term endeavors, especially those entwined with hope, anticipation, and a sense of shared purpose. People who have invested years in studying a nation's economic path feel every high and low far more intensely than casual observers. Periods of heightened anticipation and discussion often trigger memories of past cycles where expectations soared, only to dissipate amid shifting information or persistent uncertainty. Despite this historical pattern, a resilient community continues to follow these developments with persistence and focused curiosity. This sustained determination speaks to the significant psychological commitment of individuals who hold a belief in the long-term potential for structural change, even when the specific timeline or path remains profoundly unclear. Acknowledging this emotional reality helps the community navigate both the inevitable optimism and the necessity for caution more effectively. In any environment where significant financial or policy changes appear possible, the concept of preparation transforms into a substantial practical advantage. Proactively organizing essential personal documentation, identification, financial records, notes on long-term strategy, and general planning materials ensures that individuals are positioned to respond calmly and efficiently when any official information is released. Reviewing personal strategies and centralizing all critical paperwork reduces anxiety and significantly enhances the capacity for thoughtful, effective decision-making. This form of preparation is a matter of good practice and sound personal management. It is not dependent upon or tied to any specific speculation. Times of uncertainty become exponentially more stressful if people feel disorganized or caught off guard. By taking these proactive steps now, getting grounded and organized, individuals strategically place themselves in a stronger position to evaluate new information objectively, consult with qualified professionals, and make choices that align with their long-term objectives, reducing the emotional pressure inherent in a period of high anticipation. Many dedicated observers characterize the current environment as a period of quiet momentum, a distinct sense that various key developments are gradually and inevitably aligning, even if the final outcome remains undefined and unconfirmed. This feeling is a common precursor to official economic updates or major policy announcements. The world often appears unusually still right before a new sense of clarity emerges. Regardless of whether the forthcoming change is monumental or merely incremental, the collective attention and emotional shift are unmistakable. What is unfolding now appears to be part of a broader systemic pattern of structural reform, global economic strengthening, and international reorientation. Whether this leads to immediate dramatic news or simply steady, incremental progress, the sense of focused attention is compelling. People feel the air changing, not because of secretive processes, but because the long-term efforts of nations like Iraq and Vietnam are increasingly becoming more visible, more measurable, and more globally significant on the international stage. The most prudent approach during such moments is to maintain a sense of balance and equilibrium, remaining open to all possibilities, but ensuring all actions are securely grounded in verified official information. Hope and realism must coexist. Hope provides the motivation to persist, and realism provides the essential stability for decision-making. For the community that has dedicated years to this pursuit, the present moment represents a profound convergence where patience, research, and long-term commitment may finally be meeting a new operational reality. Many dedicated members of this community have held their position through years of persistent doubt, continuously shifting timelines, disappearing sources, and extreme emotional volatility. Yet, the commitment has endured, driven by a deep-seated belief in the long-term potential outcome. Today, as these alleged internal signals begin to align, there is a tangible sense within the community that the moment they have prepared for may be finally approaching. That emotional weight and sense of deserving reward are absolutely real and should be acknowledged. Therefore, the focus must shift entirely to preparation. If notifications were to begin, those who have organized themselves meticulously will be able to move with efficiency and clarity. Ensure that all government identification, passports, and essential personal documentation are immediately accessible. Critically, review your personal strategy and consolidate all materials into one easily managed location. The process, if activated, is expected to move with considerable speed, and the level of your personal preparation will inevitably define the subsequent experience. We are now entering what many within the community are calling the quiet before the breakthrough. This time, the perceived breakthrough is the culmination of years of tracking. Everything that is currently being observed and discussed suggests potential synchronized movement, alignment, and a highly structured timing sequence. If the reports concerning Tier 4 billions receiving notifications are accurate, it implies that the systems necessary for the next phase may now be opening up, quietly, precisely, and entirely behind the scenes, according to internal protocols. As this extensive discussion concludes, the overarching message remains consistent. The dedicated community has come too far to waver now. The emerging signs are strong, the alleged timing suggests coordination, and the atmosphere has fundamentally shifted from anticipation to activation alert. Whether this current phase ultimately marks the definitive beginning or simply a critical turning point, one fact is clear: something historic is unfolding in the complex world of global monetary policy. Stay focused, remain steady, and stay fully ready, because this could be the moment that years of detailed preparation finally intersect with a new reality.